Hello, and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max, episode 313. And we are technically still recording on the 4th of July, as you can hear the fireworks behind Mark there.
Yeah,
So,
it's a Beirut around here. My window's
yeah.
closed, so
No, if we would have recorded like about 30 minutes ago, you would have heard stuff where I'm at too. They're still going off. I think somebody almost hit somebody's car, in fact, because their
yeah.
alarm was going off and everything. So, but you know, unfortunately, it hasn't been the greatest Fourth of July for everyone. Not going to get into politics here, but it is what it is. Hopefully, you did enjoy. Have it. Daniel, did y'all go anywhere? Do anything?
Yeah, we went to some of my wife's relatives' house out in the country, and they were shooting off fireworks. Ate dinner, shot off fireworks, and got back about 15, 20 minutes before we started. So that was fun.
So, Mark, you can see him from your house. You didn't have to go anywhere.
Not from my window, but yeah, my front deck I can. There's like 8 different idiots out there doing it.
I was at work, but on the way home from work, I could see them all the way from when I got home to a party that my girlfriend's family were throwing. I stopped there for a little bit and then went over here to record, and there was fireworks going on here. So got to see plenty of them everywhere that I was at after I got off work. So that has been our 4th of July. Like I said, hopefully you were able to enjoy yours wherever you were. And heart goes out to those folks in Chicago that had to deal with a terrible mass shooting in a parade, because apparently we still cannot control ourselves here in these idiots that do these things. Sorry for those folks. Anyway, we go from that to talking about video games here. And, well, Mark, you had just started Fire Emblem Three Hopes, pretty much the last, our last week here.
Yep.
How much farther are you now?
I'm like 15 hours in. I hit chapter 10 or chapter 9. Yeah. I know there's at least 12 chapters because every guide has said there's 12 chapters. So
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, anything different or new that you have?
I mean, I guess I kind of like it more, but I still don't like the problem of like most Dynasty Warriors games of the stupid map. Like, it's like this weird, like most maps devolve into like this like weird Brady Bunch looking tic-tac-toe thing where you're on like Jan Brady in section 4, you have to get to section 7 and like crossing over half the map. Like, this game does mitigate that a little. You can take over strongholds, and then you have a teleportation power up to like 3 times per battle. So like if you can teleport to any stronghold you actually own, which is helpful because some maps do need it. But yeah, I also don't think like you can play anyone really in your army at any time as long as they're on the battlefield. But like, why would you play anyone else but your main character?
Oh, so it does let you like actually go around and pick.
Oh yeah,
You
you can like inhabit anyone really, but it's like your main character is going to be the strongest, and they're the most unique offensively, and they have the teleport, and they have like a quick dash. So it's like, yeah, sorry Raphael, but I'm not going to play as you, or some of like the lower echelon characters. It's like, no, I'm good. I'll just order you around and hope you won't die.
All right, so I mean, at least that's a change from some of the other ones where you're kind of stuck with the one character you choose before you start, and then
yeah, like at any time you basically have 4 players on the map. Some maps have more, but yeah, you can switch between any of them at pretty much any time.
So which path are you?
I'm the Golden Deer, or they have some other, like everyone has like a new name, but I'm the part of the Claude House now. And then I'll probably replay at least 1 or 2 more times to see the other, story twists or stories. Yeah, that game does not get a lot of favors done on the Switch. Like, no, the Switch is getting pretty old.
Yeah, that's one of the things that worries me about doing Xenoblade 2 already had a hard enough time. They learned a lot when they did the remaster of 1, and it seemed to...
Isn't Xenoblade like... I don't want to say turn-based, but isn't it like...
No, that's full move-around action.
Oh, okay.
There's no...
But isn't it like locked off in it, like once you get into a battle, or no?
No, it does that little thing where it goes into... No, it immediately goes into a battle. And then they just keep going. It's full on, like even some of the stuff's even like automated. They just keep attacking by themselves. So, but of course that was also a launch game for the Switch, so much different than going in and
the starting class or like your unique class in Fire Emblem. Like you have 2 swords and you can like really get around, but you have this like one teleport or not. I mean, it's like Raiden's torpedo move from Mortal Kombat. Like you like can really dash around, and man, the frame rate drops like a stone when you do that. And also you can like barely control it because it feels incredibly like unpredictable.
Oh, that's disappointing. I mean, to be fair, Koei Tecmo hasn't really, been known for like really optimizing the crap out of their games. I mean, a lot of times there's parts of it that look great, but because they have to have so many... is there a lot of enemies on the screen for this as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not as much as it has been, I assume. But yeah, there's at least dozens, by 50 or 60, in a given battle. Okay. Possibly even more. I do wish the game was a little more explicit about telling you how to get S ranks for like missions. Like it does kind of tell you, but it doesn't like keep it on the screen at all times. But yeah, all the like Fire Emblem stuff is really good.
So it doesn't give you... Does it give you like, I guess, challenges or things you have to do?
Well, it's like you have to beat a mission under a certain time, not lose like much health, and then also like defeat like 600 enemies or something like that. And it is like you can get to it in a few like menu options, but it is kind of wish there was a counter on screen saying like, hey, you have 400 enemies killed out of the 800 you need or something like that. It does kind of give you some checkpointing. Like if you do kill like 600 enemies, it will tell you, but like just a number on screen would be helpful.
Yeah.
Like a big counter. And it does have like side missions. Like every mission tends to have like a few side missions. Like, I'll go kill these enemies before they take out one of your units, or kill these enemies before they're able to escape, or stuff like that.
Is there anything like good about the story, or do you feel like it?
It's interesting so far. Like I kind of like the main character, but you can tell like your ghost or whoever is like evil, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, aren't you kind of playing the villains a bit here?
Well, kind of, but like they refer to like Byleth from Three Houses as like the Ashen Demon, but it's like she's not evil. Like she just is a better mercenary than you. Like that's like the funny part. Yeah, it's like she's not like burning down villages or like laughing maniacally. Like she's just another mercenary.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But it has all the Fire Emblem stuff, like the town management, essentially, and relationship building and all that good stuff.
I heard that they, like, don't... do they allow, like, the kind of freedom of who you can choose, or is it...
Well, you can recruit people. I mean, the house members are still locked in, but there's, like, 7 or 8 people you can kind of recruit into your house or into your party. Additionally, so I've done most of that at least, and you can even recruit Byleth and like Gerald and some other people like down the road. So it's about as open as like Three Houses was actually.
Okay, so I mean, it's still a Musu game, but at least they add some Fire Emblem stuff. It doesn't feel like we're just kind of
But it's funny because like your characters don't really like level up that much in battle. They might mainly level up through like you can just buy money or like buy experience to like level them up. But like my main character is so far above everyone else, it's like hysterical. Like my main character is like level like 38, everyone else is like level like 22.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, yeah, because I use her the most. Like, what do you expect?
Right. Well,
but yeah, good game. Or it's growing on me. It's not. I still don't think it's as good as like Persona 5. And I'm not even talking like or Strikers. I'm not even talking about like the Persona part. I just mean like the actual like action part, or, like the gameplay. Yeah. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, so what is this you have put in our doc here? An SNES complete.
Yep, I finally completed my mission of getting the SNES games I want. Oh, okay. I drove an hour away today to pick up a copy of Mega Man 7.
Nice.
And guess how much that cost me?
How much did that cost you?
$240.
Shoo.
Yeah. And that was on the cheaper end. Like, there are more expensive copies on eBay that are in like far shittier quality, or you know. So I was happy to drive to Toledo to pay this dude his money to get it from him.
So you're not going to go after any more SNES games. You have. So how many do you have in total?
For like SNES, I have like I don't know, 40.
What? Okay.
And then I have like number. I have like 10 Super Famicom games, like Japanese ones. There's like 1 or 2 Super Nintendo games I might want, like X-Men or Star Trek: The Next Generation, but like they're not. Those are all fairly common. They're not like, oh, I have to like hunt around for them.
Right.
But I'm also out of like shelf space for SNES games. So, and I own every Mega Man game for the Super Nintendo, so I'm happy.
Yeah, there you go. At least you have completed one thing. So
yeah,
what is your next quest as far as your collecting?
I don't really have one. Maybe like 1 or 2 more PS1 games, but I'm not like Jens. I don't need to collect everything.
Okay. At least you have a limit there.
Yeah.
Even though I guess systems might still entice you.
I mean, if system is one thing, but like I don't need to own every system. And even the systems I do have, most of them are just in like a plastic bin or like not even hooked up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't think you want to go through the trouble of trying to find ways to hook up everything and then never play it. And it's just.
And at a certain point, like the NES is like my limit for like old games or old systems. Like I'm not going to go before that because I have zero attachment to any of that stuff. And even
I agree.
Even the NES, like I barely have any attachment to that. I just found a good one for sale. So
I am with you there in that landscape of things of like, I think they were just talking about Atari is going to release some 50th anniversary collection of games. And I'm like, I could care less.
Good for them. But yeah, I have no attachment to Atari whatsoever. Like I've played, you know, Pong and maybe Pitfall. That's been about it.
Well, yeah, and then even then, there's a more like for me, Pitfall is the PC version that comes with Windows that came with PCs back in the day.
Yeah,
you know, I've seen video of the Atari version, but it's like that's not what I think of Pitfall is. Maybe Breakout or. It's probably the only thing that I would associate with Atari that I spent a lot of time playing or whatever. But I mean, it's not our generation, so I'm there with you. Well, at least you have narrowed down one system to everything you want there for that.
Yep.
Well, Daniel was telling us earlier he had not been playing much this week. I kind of decided on a whim on Sunday to pick up Neon White after seeing so much about it and everything. And I was just like, why not? And just like hearing about the writing and just everything else that's in this game, like the way the characters are. And I didn't know if the gameplay was going to be for me, but I'm not a speed running person at all, so I'm not going to go crazy trying to get the gold on every single level. But I really appreciate the style and the way everything looks, the art and the characters, and it does actually, because it's so fast, because of the way that it loads quickly. It doesn't let you think. It's like Cuphead, which I'm going to talk about as well. Playing the last Delicious Last Course. It's so fast and how it doesn't let you really think about the fact that you just died, or not that you died, but like. So this game is not one of those where you keep trying again over and over. It's you try to hit exactly what you're supposed to do. It's very linear, but if you don't hit it, it will immediately tell you, oh, hey, you're not going to be able to keep going. So you might as well hit the select button. I'm playing on the Switch, obviously, and you're going to have to restart. But again, because you restart so quickly, it doesn't really like affect you. You don't really think about it. Go, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Or if because it's going to be it's you. So the point of the game is that you are a lost soul in purgatory, basically. And every year, the angels of God have a tournament where they pit 10 of these purgatorial people against each other, and they're called neons. And if you win and you beat everybody else, you actually get to go to heaven. So that's your goal, is to try to beat everyone and go to heaven there.
Same story as Pyre.
Oh, really? Okay. I played some of that game. I didn't play all of it. So, but yeah, so basically that's your conceit of it. And then, of course, they throw on the guy that does the voice of Spike in Cowboy Bebop is the main character's voice here.
Steve Blum. Or Steve Bloom.
Steve Bloom. So you'll instantly recognize him if you watch Cowboy Bebop in English at all, which makes that great.
He's also the voice of Wolverine for a while.
Yeah, and I think also the robot from Toonami is also one of the voices in here.
Yep. The main one. Or
Yeah, exactly. So there's some like recognizable voices. They did a good job in that. I just really enjoy all of it. It has some of the visual novel like dating stuff in there as well. But I haven't gotten really too much into that. I've been doing most of the levels, and you get some of the story parts in there. Each one of the characters has their own, like you have this, each one of them has a color. Like, so the main guy is neon white, and then, there's yellow, red, green, purple, whatever. So they each have their like archetype character, and they're pretty interesting. So I think for like $25, it's a pretty decent grab. Don't know if or when it will come to the other consoles, but I would definitely pick it up if you have a PC or on Switch. It runs pretty well on Switch. I haven't had any problems with the way it runs. I'm playing it in handheld. I will say you will notice because one of I think it's the left Joy-Con, even though it's attached, you still notice the drift.
Yeah.
That game is not great for if your Joy-Con drifts.
Yeah.
You have to kind of overcompensate. So you will probably die a little bit more if your Joy-Cons have the drift, because you're going to have to kind of it's a fast-moving game, so you have to like be ready to hit everything you're supposed to hit to get to the end. And if your thing drifts a little bit too much, you might end up on the ground floor again and have to restart. But I didn't have too much problems with that. But I think it's great for, you don't have to be a speedrunner to enjoy it. But if you are, there's a lot of stuff there. There's 3 different levels: bronze, silver, gold. There's little items you can find in the levels as well. And there's like special unlocks that you can find to go even further. There's a global leaderboard as well, so there's a lot. If you're one of those speedrunning folks and you haven't heard about this game, I think you really should check it out. It's well worth it. Something else I've been playing, Cuphead's The Listless Last Course, which came out on the 30th there. It's more Cuphead, but you get to play as Miss Chalice, which she makes the game, I wouldn't say like it's not super easy. It's not like, oh, you got easy mode with Miss Chalice or whatever. But, you know, I would say that it does make it easier because she has a double jump. She has a dodge roll, you know, so I found her a lot like funner to use than the other two, but the bosses are still difficult. I'm in like the second boss. I haven't played too much, but I do like the neat introduction of Miss Chalice. So they introduce her, and then you can kind of decide whether you want to play as one of the Mugman or Cuphead, or you can just decide to play as Miss Chalice by equipping something. I think you have to be at least partway through World 1 in order to be able to go into the DLC. But the first couple or first 2 or 3 bosses are not that difficult. So if you haven't played Cuphead and you're seeing this new DLC came out and that's what you want to play, I don't think it's that challenging to get to where you can play the DLC. But yeah, I love the first Cuphead, so having this DLC is great that you get that kind of introduction to everything. And yeah, I know you said you weren't like super interested in it.
I mean, that sounds fine, but yeah, the gameplay. I mean, if I had someone to play it with, maybe, but I mean,
yeah, co-op is a lot more fun. It's only $8. So if I think Cuphead right now is still on a sale for $14. So if you bought that and the DLC, it's like $21. So actually not too bad, quite honestly, if you wanted to pick up both. So I definitely think it's worth it. The hype is well, earned for this game, and I'm sure we're going to see more love for it as time goes on, quite honestly. I'm excited to use this week to delve more into it. And, how can you go wrong with just seeing more of these awesome bosses? And the way, I mean, even the first one is like this band of different insects, and the way that they have each one of them like go through this I had this game on a CDI that was like Mario Hotel or something, and Mario would go into these different doors and he'd go into these different levels, and it's kind of that way, the first one, boss battle. So you have different insects coming through, and then you got to kill the main guy, and then another one comes down, and that's like the second phase, and it's pretty neat, quite honestly. And it still amazes me how they get this art style done and how it all moves so beautifully without you really even noticing that you're playing a game at times.
Hey man, they work for Dragon's Lair.
Right? Yeah, that's true. But still got to give them props for being able to do that. Still need to check out the Netflix show, actually. I keep forgetting to do that. And the last thing I'll mention is I played the Live a Live, Live Alive, whatever you want to call it, demo. I've only played one of the 3 things that they have brought out for it. I know one of them, I think it's the like present day one, is not a lot of battling. It's more story based.
Yeah.
So, just for you to be, I guess, aware of that. But I played the Edo Japan one, and I found that I really enjoy it. So it's weird because it's like, it's not a strategy RPG, but it has the grid. Like you have to be near the enemy to be able to. It's not like turn based where you just press a button and it goes to the character. So it's sort of strategy, but it's not like hardcore. It kind of lets you move around a little bit more, and you do get, you do level up, you do get different attacks and everything else. And I loved playing it, so when you play the Edo Japan one, you play as the ninja, which you can name, obviously, considering this is an old SNES game. So this is back in the day where you can name all your characters. And yeah, I found it's pretty interesting. You also do get to like move around an actual like map, so you're going around trying to get through different parts of it as you're sneaking through. And I just found it. I'm excited to keep going and find more of this story, and then go on and play the other ones. So I think that the demo does a good job of like kind of giving you the gist of the game in a way. So yeah, and it looks great. It looks beautiful. The HD 2D as well. So definitely, if you're excited about this game, I think you should try out the demo. And man, it's not going to be long. The 22nd of this month is coming out. So get ready. Hopefully I'll get to finish the demo this week. And then one last thing, I did play the Card Shark demo, and that game is pretty interesting in a way. So you play as, it kind of reminds me of like what they're going for with Pentiment. It's like done in that same kind of art style, and it has that same kind of like old style setting, except for you're basically card counting, but you're cheating for this other guy to tell him what the suits are in the game, that in the cards that the other characters are playing, while you're pouring wine for them. And then if you do well, then you get more money and everything else. So pretty interesting concept on that. One of those devolver joints that work out well in that way. So, all right. If we don't have anything else to talk about here that we're playing, let's get on with the news. And since I was talking about a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff, I hope that this actually comes to the US, because my Switch is messed up. The back is like coming off of it. I dropped it.
Yours. Yeah.
Well, no, but like that's from over time. Like that didn't happen. Like I just randomly woke up one day and all of a sudden the back was like kind of coming apart. I could probably tape it together, but I kind of don't want to put tape on it. And then also I have like a little blue mark on the screen where where I had dropped it. And that happens similar to your phone. So it'd be cool if you could pay, say, $2 a month or $15 a year, and you have the ability to just get your Switch fixed if there's something wrong with it, which I would assume this also includes the Joy-Con controllers, which, Marc, you've had the problem with drift. I had the problem with drift. So that's protected in there. You get 6 different repairs throughout the year, and I think 2 of them can involve actually getting the entire Switch replaced. Could you see this coming here? And is this a good idea for, like, say, Xbox or PS, Sony to perhaps think about doing as well?
It'd be nice, but I don't see it coming over here because Americans are too rough with their systems as opposed to Japan.
I think also the number of systems over here as opposed to Japan too would.
Well, no, the Switch is the number 1 seller over there. There are so many systems there, and not to mention they carry those things everywhere. Like you talk about, they use transportation all the time.
They also treat them better.
I would, perhaps you don't have kids playing with them and throw them around and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Like, I mean, it took me like 6 weeks to get my Joy-Cons repaired in the first place, or replaced. Like, imagine if this system or this process came over here, it'd be like 6 months.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, I wonder how quick this is going to be. Are you really going to dedicate a certain? I mean, they are didn't they are, develop, they bought the land that's next to the main headquarters in Japan. So perhaps could this be what you're using that 12-floor building for? Like to just have this like factory of, all right, you're fixing this, you're fixing that. Let's get this stuff out quicker so we can actually have this program be worth it for people, because, if it's going to take months and months for you to get your system back, then, that doesn't really help you much. So,
I mean, Microsoft and Sony both have like stores in the country.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they turned them more into like repair centers, but they don't. And Sony used to have repair centers, but I think they like went away like decades ago.
Sony store. So where does Sony? I think both Microsoft and Sony stores have like, been getting smaller and smaller, that footprint that they have. So
yeah, because they're not. Well, it's just a store to like sell stuff. It's not like a real store or like a or a real like a repair center or anything cool like that. It's just like, hey, we have the new. Remember the Zune? We still have one of those somewhere in the back. You want it?
I mean, it would be neat if they could do that. I think you don't necessarily have that problem so much with, say, the Xbox and PS5 if you don't move it around too much. But I could definitely see people that
you're not meant to move either one of those around.
Yeah. Well, there's people that take it with them on trips, I guess. But now you don't really need to, because you do have remote play. As long as you have the internet in your house working, it will be able to play for you, and it works pretty well. Plus, you got the streaming on both ends. But I mean, you still have the weird ones where, the Series X just randomly went out on someone that I saw, and Microsoft actually replaced it for them.
Yeah.
And PS5's done similar things, and
the reason I don't think this is going to happen, I just did some very quick research just in the last 2 years. So from let me see, what did I have from 2020 to 2021? You're looking at maybe 5.3 million Switches sold in Japan. Whereas in that same time frame, you had over 17 million sold in the U.S.
Wow.
So if those numbers continue, I mean, that's a whole lot more Switches in the U.S. than in Japan. I just don't see it for that price being possible over here.
I mean, if it was like $10 a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how many people do you have in the U.S. that could work on fixing the Switches for just the minor problems? And then you have to consider, where were they getting shipped to? It's a lot more, just geographically, there's a lot more land in the U.S. to ship stuff over than there is in Japan. I don't see it working for that price and for just the numbers in general.
No, I definitely think it'd have to be more expensive if they brought it over here. I don't think you get away with the whole $2 a month thing here. You would have to charge a lot more. I mean, also because you have to pay the people here more to be able to do that. So, that is something you have to think about, is how much are you paying them to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, Nintendo does have another issue, and that they have all these franchises that people are clamoring for, or hoping they could get a new game or remaster this or make another one of that. But yet, obviously, they can't make everything. And Nintendo basically came out and said that to all the, everybody that's been wanting, say like me, that's been wanting a new F-Zero game for a long time. Nintendo keeps bringing out the whole, well, we have to have something new to be able to put into F-Zero to be able to make it worth it. Or some people want a new Wario game, or a new Donkey Kong.
A WarioWare game just came out.
Well, Wario Land, like not WarioWare, but like an actual Wario game.
Yeah,
where
but like
he's-
Wario
yeah.
Land is not like that important of a franchise, or like that memorable, really.
Well, but for some people it is, and that's why I'm saying
It's
like
okay if you
you
want one, go
know,
dig up a Virtual Boy and play that one again.
yeah. I mean, even I think they had a shareholder that they came out and even had to tell people, "Hey, I went in and said that I wanted a new F-Zero game, just
They
so
told
that
me, hey, go fuck myself. So that was fun.
Didn't he spend like 40 grand to be able
Yeah.
to ask the question just to
Yeah.
be told sorry?
Here's the thing. I don't think Nintendo could or should make a sequel to everything, but they could certainly farm some of this shit out.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't make the last F-Zero game, so who cares? If Sega wants to make it again, feel free. And even when they do bring back franchises, it's not always a big hit. Remember Kid Icarus?
Yeah,
Remember
I
how they
feel like that was well received, like critically.
No.
It just didn't. Yeah,
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean that was also for was it for DS or 3DS?
3DS.
It was one of the launch. Wasn't it a launch 3DS title? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I think they could farm out some of their franchises, but I just think they're afraid to.
Icarus was like a year after the launch, but I remember you had to use the Circle Pad Pro. Like it had to come with that thing to make it like bearable.
Yes.
It's like, what? I mean, they had to be like drag kicking and screaming to make a new Metroid. John Cena himself had to tell them to make it.
Yeah. People have been throwing out Wave Race and make a good Star Fox game and Pilot Wings and like I said, F-Zero.
They are incapable of making a good Star Fox game. They keep trying to like farm it out as well, and it keeps failing. And hey, some of these franchises are just going to die. You can also see people clamoring for new Ice Climbers.
Well, I mean, there's a reason for that.
I mean, hey, there's a reason for Star Fox as well. Like, there have only been like 1.5 good ones out of like 9 names.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Star Fox, they tried. It just didn't work out. But it feels like, at least with F-Zero, in my case, they just aren't interested at all. And it's just like, damn, there are studios, there are people that would love to be able to make a new F-Zero game, and you just won't allow them to do that. And,
well, hey, they can make something new.
Yeah.
They don't, like, Nintendo doesn't own, like, the futuristic racing, copyright. Like, they can make their own game.
Well, yes.
I mean, I
reviewed one of those.
Yeah, or like Red Hot 2 just came out, but the problem is most of them are terrible.
I mean, the one I reviewed wasn't bad. It's just it didn't have much to it.
Right,
but
it's inherently kind of a shallow genre to begin with.
Right.
And like, the height of those games was probably like, I'd say PS1, maybe PS2, like Wipeout.
Yeah.
But that's kind of about it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, people. Yeah, you could get your Super Mario RPG that people have been.
Well, I mean, that has more business machinations involved with it than Nintendo just doesn't want to make it.
Yeah, well, I just say, you have your Squares out there just deciding that they want to make everything under the sun. So why not? Nintendo just, take one of your. I mean, they just bought one of the companies that like they basically worked with for like 40 years because nobody didn't know that they didn't own them. Take that company and decide to go over there with Square Enix and be like, hey, Super Mario RPG 2, let's do it, or a remake or whatever they want to do with that. This is one of those that I'm sure everybody has their favorite Nintendo franchise. I mean, talk about Mother 3. I mean, people like get somebody to port that, right? So everybody has their favorite Nintendo franchise, I guess, that's been dormant or stuck in Japan or whatever thing you want to think of that I'm sure they would want to be made. You were talking about a remaster of Metroid 1, right, last week, Mark. So,
well, you were.
You said you want, was it Super Metroid?
Super Metroid, yeah, that was it.
Daniel, do you have a favorite Nintendo franchise that you haven't seen in a while?
I would like a good Star Fox game. I'm always excited for a good flight sim fighter type game, and it's been a while, but the problem is they want to take them out of the cockpit for some reason, and it just hasn't worked out too well.
The problem is, even like when they keep them in the cockpit, those also still don't work.
Well, yeah, that's true too. I mean, taking them out of the cockpit is what started the downfall.
To me, like the last good Star Fox game really is only Star Fox 64.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like original Star Fox is kind of technically impressive, but it's like ass to play. So that doesn't count for me. But
I think that's one of those that it's like Shadows of the Empire on the N64. When it first came out, it was amazing, but good luck playing it now. Same as GoldenEye with the controls and everything, how you're limited with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mean Star Fox 64. I mean original Star Fox is terrible to play.
Yeah, but I mean part of it's the controls and everything.
Yeah.
So
I will say the Star Fox missions that they add, I think I've said this like every time we bring this up, but the Star Fox missions they added to that Ubisoft Toys to Life thing were actually pretty good. So it does show that when they want to do it, they can make.
Well, that was because it was Ubisoft making it, not them. And that thing was a good enough framework, but no one cared. It was already like way past.
Yeah,
it's due date. So, I mean,
it just sucks that if they did want to do it, it shows that they can. Just
When are they
going to always have to come up with something new?
When are they going to bring back Marc? He's just typing. Let's be real.
Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised they haven't come up with I guess that was it the Garage Builder game didn't sell well enough that they didn't try to make that into a series of let's have more games that show you how to do things.
That's a problem. Nintendo keeps wanting to like be out there, or like, hey, we have Garage Builder, we have Labo, and I think that's fun for like a week, and then no one cares.
Labo died.
Or like 1-2 Switch, there. Or even like that Mario Kart World Tour thing. Like, hey, it's technically impressive, sure, but like, ain't fun to play, really. And
I don't think we talked about it, but there are rumors that they're trying to make a second 1-2 Switch game. And
but it's so terrible that like no one wants to put it out.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, they realized that, not just trying to put it out like.
Or even nothing. Like I hate to say it, but like that Wii Sports game the
Nintendo Switch Sports.
I heard it was fine, but like it kind of came and went. Or even like people bugged him for years to make a new Pokemon Snap, and it came out, and it's like, all right, what's next? Or
Nintendo Switch Sports is selling well, but it's not like when it came out on the Wii.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same cachet or that same word of mouth that was a system seller on the Wii.
Now you have VR that does that way better.
Yeah. So I'm sure Nintendo's kind of right. Like, even if they made a new F-Zero game, like how much would it sell, and then how much would it cost to make?
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm sure even like Metroid was kind of like a surprise for them. Like they were probably going like, it'll sell, hopefully, but it'll get off our backs for a while, hopefully as well.
I mean, people really went with it with Metroid because I think if it hadn't broken all the records that it broke, I wonder if they would have considered shelving Metroid Prime 4. But the fact that Metroid Dread sold the way it did, I think gives them more impetus to really make sure that they get it right with Metroid Prime 4. And then obviously, they have that whenever it is, so we get that Metroid Prime collection. So
Yeah.
it does show that if you go and you get behind something, they will do more with it. But like you said, unless you're like Pokemon, where you can afford to have a dud.
Yeah, think about how many people for years have been screaming for Earthbound or Mother 3, and they ignore it because I think they realize, like, even if we put a new one out, it's not going to sell.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, Mother 3 is obviously for the hardcore of the hardcore. That is total fan service if it ever comes out. But if a new one comes out,
Earthbound barely sold in the first place. So
yeah,
I think they would have more success if they made a third one and bundled it together with the first two, and just release it even in the original with 16-bit graphics and everything. Just say, here you go, here it is. It's in the original graphics. The story is now complete. You can buy it all. I think it would sell better doing that than trying to just put it down the third game and say in a modern graphics, modern settings, and say, here you go. Now let's see who buys it.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's been so long that would they put it out Mother 3 random like that? I don't think so. They would have to find a way to where they could really make something off of it.
Once they release the SNES Classic 2, they'll put it on there.
Yeah. That
I could see them doing that.
I don't think they would do what Sega's doing and make a SNES Classic 2. The headaches that they had with those, I don't think they want to relive that again. So, of like having people going crazy trying to buy those, and then it's funny how like no one talks about them.
Yeah.
Anymore. Yeah. So speaking of older games that people really want sequels of, but apparently we're not getting them. Sucker Punch basically shuts down all the rumors of Sly Cooper is coming. Oh, a new Infamous is coming. No, sir, they're not. Of course, they're working on Ghost of Tsushima 2, and I think they're also helping on God of War. If they also mentioned that as well. So, I'm not a big Infamous person, but I will say I would have loved the new Sly Cooper game. I love that. Out of all the Sony mascots or whatever, that was mine. Not Jack and Daxter, not Crash. Sly Cooper was my dude. So I would have loved to have been able to see another game in the franchise, but I respect Sucker Punch for kind of just deciding, hey, we're kind of done with those games and we're moving on. Do y'all have any attachment to either one?
I've always had a soft spot for the Infamous series, but I'm kind of surprised we didn't see a new one on this, or we're not going to see a new one on this generation. Because I would think that the PS5 would be able to open up a few more things that the PS4 maybe couldn't quite do, and make it a little bit bigger, have a more living city that you're running around in it. But if they're not, I mean, I have no idea how well the second one sold. I think that might have been part of the problem. I don't think it sold as well as they thought it should have.
I never played Sly Cooper. I kind of like the design, but stealth isn't like that type of stealth isn't my bag. I like the last Infamous game quite a bit, but I think I'm in the minority for that one. So yeah,
I think there was people that like Second Son. There was things about it that weren't in the first two that, like, I remember Randy also liking it a lot as well. But yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I think there was a lot of people that were kind of like, okay, I'm kind of done with Infamous for a while. And that's might be where Sucker Punch kind of got that as well. I mean, it helps a lot that Ghost of Tsushima has sold so well and really become another pillar for Sony that, I mean, you kind of have your franchise you got to keep making now.
Yeah.
It's like Naughty Dog with Last of Us, right? And Uncharted. I mean, they stopped doing Jack and Daxter because they felt like they kind of outgrown it at that point. So what do they, gain from just going back to that well?
Well, then but then got to go back to Ratchet and Clank, so that's fun.
Yeah, but that's different, right? That's Insomniac. I mean, they're So yeah, I mean, I like I said, I really would have liked another Sly Cooper game, but
I mean, they can always farm it out, like Demon Souls remake or something like that.
Yeah, they could do that. I mean, I guess, or if they wanted to, I guess they could possibly remaster those collections again and bring them out of the other games. But I don't think they would necessarily.
I mean, there's a lot of inertia to bring back those, even Jack and Daxter, let alone Sly Cooper and Infamous. So,
I mean, again, also there's something to be said for give you a reason to go and grab the nostalgia on the PS Plus premium too.
Yeah.
Right. If you keep taking games and remastering them, you're not going to really want to go into that library and go and play those games the way they were. So there's that as well, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been a thing that's been going on for a while. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, we're going to see an Infamous trailer. We're going to see a Sly Cooper trailer at every one of these state of plays," or swearing up and down that they're in development, and they pretty much put a pin in it pretty quick. There is no studio doing
I applaud them for that, though, because I'm sure they're getting tired of being asked that crap. So it's like, no, leave us alone.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's probably why they're getting tired of, especially with what, we're going to talk about this week, where people have that entitlement of feeling like this has to come out. You have to be making this game. Well, we're going to tell you that, no, we're not. And you're not going to make us be able to do it either. Well, speaking of, we do know of one game that is still getting updated on. We know that we're waiting on features for it. This does have to come out because it was promised on Microsoft. The Halo Co-op campaign is apparently on its way soon. They're doing an actual test in a couple of weeks, actually, for it on the 15th. And the big part here is that after Redfall had the negative news that the progress that you make in that game is only going to go to the whoever's account actually is running is the main player, which is also the same way that a game that came out earlier this year in, oh my God, Nobody Saves the World. When I played with Randy, it was like that. We didn't unlock everything. It's I was playing through his game, so I think he unlocked whatever we did together. Well, the Halo campaign is actually going to be for everyone. So whatever you unlock with your friends, you have that when you go to your solo game. And whatever mission you actually finish when you go and play with your friends, it's going to be there unlocked when you play by yourself again. And the even better part, I think, is that when you go and play by yourself, you're going to be able to, or whatever missions you unlock, and then you go and play with your friends, if everybody that's playing together hasn't unlocked something, it's not unlocked there. And I think that's pretty cool as well, that you're kind of like keeping everything together. You're not making everybody feel like, oh, well, I'm getting spoiled here. I'm unlocking stuff that I haven't done yet. So it makes it feel like there's actually progress for everybody. And that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that? And Do you think this should be the way that all these co-op games work, right?
That'd be nice, but they don't. Yeah, it doesn't always happen. And I think about like how bad it used to be with Halo. So, yeesh.
Yeah, I mean they do have. They also talked about that it's not like a tether system or whatever, but there is a certain amount of space. I think it's like 1,000 feet or something that you can be separated from each other. But it is far enough to where you can be in different points of, say, the one area if you're doing one of these big missions, and you could still take out different parts of the base, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel, do you have a thought on how this call campaign is going to work?
It'll be great if they can work it out, but I kind of wonder how much of the problem or the reason we don't have it yet is because it's proving more difficult to get this to work than they thought it would.
I feel like you wouldn't reveal that unless you kind of had that down already.
I mean,
to me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it going either way. I kind of wonder if they might have run into an issue where they thought they had it ironed out, but then something happened, and so they had to fix it. But I mean, I like the idea. I like that if you're going to be like, if somebody just, let's say, a friend of mine just got the game and joined it, and I'm further along in it. If he joins my game, he's still going to be unlocking his stuff, as opposed to him having to then backtrack through a single player because he was playing with me.
Yeah,
so I like how that's going to work. I hope it happens soon. Let's just say that.
I agree. That's like the one thing like I do want to try out with the Halo campaign. I stopped playing most of it just because I'd want to play co-op with someone because I just have the fun memories that way. And knowing that that's how it's going to be, that makes it a bigger thing to, okay, I can play solo, and then that contributes to when you play with that friend again. Because, yeah, backtracking and having to do the same things over and over, it kind of pulls the taste out of the single player for you. So if they can really nail this and get it to work that way, then yes, I'm all for that. Quite honestly.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can. I mean, it sucks that the Red Falls is that way, that it's all based on whoever's the one that's, the main player. But I guess, Bethesda and Arcane have their reasoning why they're doing it that way. Which I'm guessing
standard.
At some point
Yeah.
They'll elaborate on why exactly. We've all played at least Guardians. I haven't really played much Deus Ex, but one of their big writers, veteran narrative director Mary DeMarle, is going to be joining BioWare, and she's actually going to be working on Mass Effect 4 as the senior narrative director. We all liked. Well, you didn't like the actors, but the Guardian story was pretty top notch. At least I thought it was one of the best stories of the year. It won Game Awards Best Narrative. She was behind that. You played a lot of those. I think both of you guys have played a lot of those Deus Ex games. How do you think this might help with Mass Effect 4 story after the bomb that was Andromeda there?
I mean, yeah, it couldn't hurt because no one liked Andromeda's story at all. So,
yeah, I mean, like Mark said, it's not going to hurt anything. I think it's promising, but I mean, you just have to wait and see what the story is and how it's accepted. I mean, I think back to Kingdoms of Amalur, everybody said they enjoyed the story. They brought Ari Salvatore to do it, but the game still didn't sell well. So you got to have a lot more behind it than just a good story for the game to be successful.
Yeah. And also, like that last Deus Ex game, the story was like pretty shoddy, I thought.
Yeah, I wonder how much involvement she had with that.
Right.
But, yeah. So, for people like me, didn't play, I haven't really played much of the Mass Effects or whatever. Obviously, it's very celebrated, very loved, all that stuff. How much, why would you say Andromeda is bad, or you want to forget about it?
Because the first three tell a singular story. The main character is the same. They have characters throughout all three games that are the same, or yeah, and they introduce new characters, but you can keep Caden through all three games, really, if you really want to, or Tally and Liara, or you can have them in all three games. Andromeda tried to start a new franchise, a new story, and no one cared about the story of the new characters they introduced. I think PB was one of the worst characters I've ever seen in a game, personally. And the story was incredibly slapdash. They go to a new galaxy, and there's only 2 new races, and most of the original races from Mass Effect are gone.
Yeah.
So on top of that, it felt like a very cheap attempt to make a new story.
They're going to make a new story, but they're not going to bring anything truly new over. It's well, we're going to simplify the story, but try not to make it obvious that we simplified the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of get that. So it didn't feel like a continuation. Well, they were trying to not have it be a continuation. Okay, that part's done. We're going to move on to a new saga, I guess. And you don't necessarily feel that.
But it was just disconnected from the core of Mass Effect. So it just felt very different and bad.
Okay.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, because I could completely miss it because it's been a while, but I feel like they thought if we move to a new galaxy, we can tell a different story and we don't have to refer back to the main story from the first 3 games. The problem is that's what they wanted to know, that the 3 games they spent however many hours playing had some relevance leading to this new game. And instead it was just, that all happened in another galaxy. We're not going to really pay much attention to it. And it felt kind of like all that progress and all that time you put in playing the first 3 games, when you fire up Andromeda, just felt kind of useless. It wasn't really connected as well as it should have been.
Yeah, they did a very poor job of actually introducing the characters or what you're supposed to do, and it just felt flat on its face.
And so, do you feel encouraged that now you're going to be able to? I guess they're going to continue that story with 4.
No, they're definitely not continuing Andromeda's story.
Well, not Andromeda. I'm talking about, I guess, some semblance of.
Well, I don't know how much he was responsible for, but when they brought back Deus Ex, that was the first one was really good.
Right.
They introduced a new main character. It's still in the same world, but it was pretty before main Deus Ex. But it felt like a fun world to explore. So I'm sure she could do it, or the story might be able to pull it off better than what Andromeda tried to do.
I mean, didn't they also lose their main, the older guys that have been with them?
Oh yeah, I mean, BioWare's had a big brain drain over the past few years as it is, so I'm sure Anthem didn't help or anything like that either.
Yeah, for sure. So she is involved in all of those Deus Ex games that
just Mankind Divided and Human Revolution.
Well, yeah, she was also involved in the narrative for The Fall as well.
Yeah.
And also the 2 latter Myst games, 3 and 4.
Everyone's favorite.
And Splinter Cell Conviction. She did the additional script writing there. So, but I mean, the big ones, like you said, Mankind Divided, Guardians, those are the ones where she's the executive narrative director. She has a lot more pull in what's happening there.
Yeah.
So that being said, she's bringing that over to Mass Effect 4. Let's hope that helps EA, as they definitely didn't help themselves this week, or at least their social media team didn't, by trying to take a meme or a trend on Twitter and then just absolutely falling on their face with Daniel, you probably don't know much about this because I know you're not on social media. I'm sure Marc has seen this.
Yeah, I made fun of him for
it.
I've seen it, and I made fun of it.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole trend is that you say they're a 10, but then you say something that they do that perhaps is something negative, right? And then you decide if it's still worth going after or not, right? EA pulled they're a 10, but they only like playing single player games. I mean, EA, come on. What? Whoever is the person behind that social media post, man, I don't want to know what happened to them or how much of a flack they got after. Even people that development studios, Vince Sampanella went after them for putting this. People that work at the studios that they're making single player games for are, God, I mean, really.
It's not like EA didn't just announce 2 weeks ago a follow-up sequel to a single player game.
Yeah, and then they're hyping the crap out of this Dead Space remake. I mean,
don't worry, all those games are gonna have multiplayer. So
yeah,
I hope to God not. That's what killed Dead Space 3. But that's the thing. Is like you have a history of of not going well with single player games. You've actually kind of come back and embrace them, and now you make people go back to those times where you were just anti single player games. And aside from your sports franchises, what has that really earned you? Battlefield's not doing great. So,
hey man, what about Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare?
Yeah.
It's probably some no-name person at a PR firm that put that out from a list of talking points that might have been 5-7 years old, and they just never got an updated list of talking points or something, and it blew up.
Or somebody thought, oh, this would be a good joke, haha, we'll laugh at it, and then oof, it just
that's why I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just used outdated set of talking points for this, because they've spent a lot of time hyping up single player games here recently.
It just it speaks volumes of that whole thing. Like, man, at least they went and apologized for it. They didn't try to act like it didn't happen or whatever. They went and said, we're going to take this L because single player games are actually 11. So nice save there, EA, even though that was still pretty terrible. Speaking of more old stuff, I guess, so we can finally get off talking about old stuff here. Ubisoft is shutting down multiplayer for 15 older games to even access to some DLC. I mean, not that I think any of us here was still playing any of these games, but it happens, folks. This is what happens when you have multiplayer games on a server. And eventually people aren't playing them that much, so they start taking them down. You got some Assassin's Creed games in here, Marc.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, I doubt anyone's playing the Assassin's Creed multiplayer anymore.
Yeah, on PC, no less. Or PS3 and 360, for God's sake. I mean,
right.
It's like, I was surprised they didn't take these down earlier, honestly. So for most of these, you'll just be unable to play multiplayer. You can't link Ubisoft stuff to it. You'll lose the online features. And even installation of or access to the DLC is going to be unavailable for something. Like on PC, I don't understand that. But, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing is if you pay for the DLC, you should be able to own it forever. Or
yeah, have access to download it. I mean, so if you lose, let's say you lose your computer or the PC or laptop or whatever that you have it installed on, I mean, I guess start backing up your stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
On the flip side, like piracy will take care of all this problem pretty well.
Yeah.
I guess there's that too. I mean, if you're still playing the original Far Cry 3 or Driver San Francisco or Ghost
Driver's
Recon,
still good, but
yeah. Yep. Or Rayman Legends is pretty great. But of course, this is on the older systems like PS3, Wii U, 360. If you're still playing on those, you kind of have to know that time is coming. Unfortunately, but it is something that we have to think about when we think about the digital age. Not everything's going to last forever, unfortunately. Maybe for Mark that always tries to get things physically, but
yep.
I know that's going to happen to me probably because I buy everything digitally out of the convenience. And
and then one day you wake up and it's not there anymore. And I'm going to go, what the hell?
Hopefully this is far away. Like after I'm no longer with us and I don't have to worry about it. I'm sure whatever Anaya's doing, she won't be playing whatever edition of the Switch we're on. Probably won't be backwards compatible with that at that point. Anyway, so Blizzard. Hey, I feel like every week we end up talking about Blizzard for something. It is always with us here. We were just talking about WoW and Dragonflight last week. If you haven't listened to that, you definitely should. It was an interesting convo for Mark and Daniel to have about what to do with WoW. So now they're acquiring Proletariat, the makers of the Battle Royale Spellbreak, to specifically work on WoW and the expansion Dragonflight. So this is 100 more workers that are, I guess, going to be merged in, coming from Boston, to help work on the game. Technically, they haven't acquired them yet, but they have the intention to do so. Mikey Barrow's statement is that we're putting players at the forefront of everything we do, and we're working hard to both beat and exceed those expectations. And that's in making sure that we have resources to produce experiences our communities are going to love, while giving our teams space to explore even more creative opportunities with their projects. So, this obviously is a different thing. They're kind of taking a studio that wasn't doing a whole lot. I don't really think a lot of people were really talking about Spellbreak. They were going to already shut down the servers anyway. This isn't like Vicarious Visions where they merged them and they were actually doing well. Do you think this actually helps? Having more people working on the game now? You can.
It depends on how long they stick around. I mean, Blizzard is not the greatest place to work for, even without all the issues that it's currently had. It's not like it's not the prestige job it used to be. Let's say that.
No, it's not. But hopefully that will change very soon.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that like the expansions due out in like 5 months, and like, we need more people to work on it. It's like maybe delay it then, or
Well, I mean, that is what happens with game development. I mean, as the game keeps growing, you have to bring in more people.
Yeah, but you don't announce a hard release date and start taking money for it either. At least not supposed to.
That's true. That's true. You will learn that.
It really depends on what they're going to have them exactly what they're going to be doing for the expansion. And I mean,
yeah,
you would hope a lot of it's pretty far along and it's mostly maintenance, trying to get rid of some, identify and get rid of some bugs, but who knows at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's good for the future of the game as well, obviously, because WoW is a living game, so you're going to have people being able to work on it that are fresh, have fresh eyes, perhaps be able to maybe give some input in. Obviously, the studio will change once they finally complete this merger with Microsoft. What are they going to do with that? But it's, I guess, positive to see in a way as well, just to see that these folks are not losing their jobs. They're going in and getting to work somewhere else, which, yes, it has a bad it's not a great place to work, perhaps, uh, but I really hope that that is something that's going to change soon when this current terrible ownership group is no longer in charge.
Yeah.
That being said, we still got to deal with terrible people doing terrible things because entitlement is just rampant in gaming and everything else for that matter. But just it feels like with gaming, it's just overboard, and then you put in social media and just get worse. So we talked about last week how there was a really good shot that perhaps we're going to get a reveal of God of War Ragnarok's release date. Is it going to be November? Is it really still coming this year? And apparently it was supposed to be revealed on the 30th of June, according to Jason Schreier and other folks. And then based on what was happening online, they decided to nix that because, get this, guys, we have people sending a female employee dick pics because they need to get that release date for God of War. I mean, really? Are we that? Man,
I mean,
nothing amazes me anymore. Like,
most gamers are that immature. What do you expect?
I know, but it's like, do you expect them to like? Oh, she's just gonna be like, oh yeah, here, this is the release date. Please stop sending me. What?
My opinion is these people are doing this just to try to get their actions mentioned somehow. Not just because they want to know that either somebody's going to get pissed off at them and say X username did this, or people have been doing this, and they're going to get that thrill that, hey, I got mentioned. I'm relevant, I'm famous, whatever. And so people keep doing it, trying to get that 2 seconds of fandom or get the response from whatever creator, company, whatever they're trying to get the response from. I mean, I don't think anybody actually thought doing that would get the result of a release date. I think it was more, let's see if I can offend somebody and get them to mention what's happening.
I mean, I love the fact that Corey Barlog's response is like, are you fucking kidding me with this thing? Because that's my response as well. Like, yeah, we've gotten this low.
The more attention you're giving to the people doing this type of stuff, the more they're going to do it because they want the attention. I've come to that conclusion. These people have the mindset where if what they're doing gets attention drawn to it, that's their gratification. And the only way to get them to stop is for us not to get the type of reactions that we're getting where they're, well, I can't believe this person did this. Can you believe this? Because that's what they want. They don't want it to stay private. They want as big of a explosion about them doing it as they can because that's their gratification from it. And the only way that's going to stop is that if they stop making these big explosions about it. But I mean, not that somebody shouldn't be offended by getting those images. Of course they should. But saying we're not going to give you a release date because people have been getting harassed online, this person had this happen to them, that's giving them their whoever's sending those pictures, they're getting their gratification because they're getting called out and it's public and they're happy now. I mean, that's just my thought, but I feel like that's what a lot of this is.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and you have a point there as well. But if you don't call it out, how is anybody going to know this is happening? And to get people to understand that there are consequences for what you do, because
Well,
I do see what you're saying, but I do think that there are people that are that dumb and that ignorant and that immature that they think that they could muscle their way or do something that heinous to get what they want. I mean, in the other story that also correlates with this, because Cory Barlog,
well,
yeah,
let me tell my joke first, because a game designer friend of mine who's female, she tweeted about this also, and my response to her, what she thought was funny, was you can't send a dick pic to just that one game designer at God of War or whatever studio that is. You have to send a dick pic to every game designer, and eventually one of them will crack.
That's it. Do not do that. Do not do that. And we do not condone that here. But quite honestly, it's the same thing that we see with the Return to Monkey Island with Ron Gilbert. People harassing him over they don't like the art style and doing whatever they can and being mean and being crass to get him to feel the pain because he decided on this art style for the return of this beloved series that everybody keeps saying they want. And that's what you do. It's like, look, you can have a discussion. You can say you don't like something, but acting that way is just it's incredible to me. Like people are just so ridiculous that you can feel like, oh, I'm gonna treat this developer that is coming back after what his last game was, The Cave and Tumbleweed Park, which Tumbleweed Park was actually pretty good. Mileage may vary on The Cave, but I mean, I really like the way that Return to Monkey Island looked. Like, I get that that's not everybody's bag, but there's better ways to say that than what people were doing there. It's just,
I mean, it's just all that sense of entitlement that I always rail against.
It's like, you don't. It's. I feel bad. Like, now we don't get any more stuff about the game because people have to be pieces of shit. Like,
I really think that it was just somebody wanting to get it, wanting whatever notoriety, whatever infamy for getting the reaction that they wanted. They wanted to, like you said, make the developer feel the pain because they didn't like something. I mean, they got what they wanted. The developer admitted that they were hurt by it, and now they're cutting everything off. I kind of wonder if the developer if the developer hadn't responded, would the person have kept going, or would he have eventually gotten tired of it, or would he have kept going and gotten worse? I mean,
yeah, probably that's escalated because that's how.
I mean, that's what was happening, right? Is the guy that does Guy Stupid's voice for the game, he went in and said that there was actually good discussion going on, right? In places in that same blog, Ron Gilbert's blog, but you had people being so nasty that they didn't have an option, and that he had no option but to just end it right there. He's just like, listen, I'm just blocking this whole thing because it's just going to keep going, and it's really shitty to see because, again, this is a game that I was really excited about and a lot of other people were excited about, and now we don't get any updates on the game. I mean, hopefully he kind of goes back on that for the people that do care about it. But, yeah.
Weirdly, I blame Mass Effect 3 for this.
Oh, yeah, it all comes down to Mass Effect 3.
Well, not just Mass Effect 3. I mean, there's other stuff, too. It's just... But, yeah, I mean, it was people... There was a legitimate outcry people got whatever change they thought they wanted. So now the people on the fringes think if they generate enough of an outcry, they're going to get what they want too. And I mean, this happens with every other type of media, movies, TV,
Yeah.
even authors writing books get the same deal.
Yeah, every
People think that they're
time.
entitled to whatever the author, because they bought an author's books, they're entitled to know what the author's doing, how they're spending their time. They're entitled to however many sequels for whatever book that they pay.
Was it George R. R.
$7.
Martin? Like every time he does something that's not Game of Thrones, they're like, "What are you doing, dude? Go back to writing."
That's more of a legitimate problem because he doesn't do writing anymore. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it's you have people that have legitimate complaints, and then you have people that take it to 11, and that because the legitimate complaints got addressed, the people that take it to 11 are trying to get their reaction that they want, and they keep going until they get whatever reaction they get.
Yeah. And it's just, but that entitlement did really start there. Of Mass Effect 3, you got him to change the ending, so now we're gonna get him to change all this other stuff, and it's like, yeah, there are good things that happen, right? Like a lot of this NFT pushback.
Well, Sonic.
And Sonic, right? And then you get, but there's a way to do that, right? You can go and you can say that you don't like it, but don't go and attack the devs for it. Don't go and like put death threats on them because you did that, right?
And most people don't. The problem is the loudest people yelling are the ones that get the most attention. And I mean, Hollywood, for the most part, has it fairly tuned in where they'll release a trailer, whatever will happen, and the people don't really respond to it. The only time you get the only time that these quote controversies spiral is when you have somebody pushing back against a general consensus and making it seem like it's an extremist viewpoint and not what everybody thinks.
I mean, you do get it with casting. Well, sometimes
you do, but you don't, because in some cases the complaints are either private or people can go on and see it's like 1% of the complaints, but they're choosing to focus on that and paint everybody with that brush. You can go back to the female Ghostbusters trailer. The trailer wasn't that good. It was very confusing. Just the whole thing was not good, but if you said anything negative about it, you were accused of being an incel, hating women, whatever. But objectively, it was confusing because you had the director saying it's a completely different universe than the original movies, and then the very first line on the trailer is 30 years ago, 4 people saved the world from unimaginable horror, referencing the first 2 movies that this new movie supposedly has no attachment to whatsoever. I mean, it was very confusing. Nothing looked good on the trailer, and if you brought up a legitimate complaint, you were accused of being one of the extremists. Sonic was a good example where a lot of people were complaining about the look of Sonic.
Right.
And you had a lot of reporters saying, well, why would you give in to these complaints that are so extreme that they don't like something, so they're not going to do it? Why would you give into it? That's going to be bad. Not necessarily. If it's a legitimate complaint and you can fix it, you fix it. And you saw Sonic. But I mean, it's when it's a general consensus and it's not just a loud minority yelling.
Right. But it's all about in how you do it as well, right?
Well, it is. Yeah. And obviously sending crude images to a game developer is not the way to get your point across.
No.
I mean, yes, people want a release date for the game, but I don't see how anybody can think doing that is going to get a release date.
Yeah. I mean,
that just seems like a way.
No, I can see how there's idiots that will think that. Or they just want to be terrible because they want to be mean because they're not getting their release date.
Yeah, and they want to get their reaction. And I think that's the big thing. It's more they want to see somebody react to what they're doing, not so much they think this is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of a reaction, I definitely want to see what everybody's reaction will be to this once this gets, if this gets a lot of attention. I feel like we haven't really heard much about it other than that it was, on video game news sites. But apparently, there is the first ever NFT console going to be releasing in 2024, even though NFT sales have plunged from 12.6 billion to 1 billion. That's a hell of a lot of billions that have been lost, by the way. So this Web3 company, Polium, is making the Polium 1 system, the first multi-chain gaming console. It's capable of running games built on different blockchains. Already, that sounds like a mouthful I don't want to deal with. So this thing is supposed to come out Q3 2024. You'll only be able to pre-order by players who buy a Polium Pass, which is an NFT on the Ethereum network, of which only 10,000 are going to be minted. Again, a bunch of word salad here.
You can just stop here. Like, it's not coming out, and it's a scam.
Yeah. So they're saying that they're going to show a prototype on YouTube.
No. You can stop. Scam.
Yeah. This is like all the other scams that got some press and then were revealed as scams. It is not coming out. I mean, number one, NFT in gaming is very controversial right now.
Yeah.
With the whole worldwide economy looking to go into a recession, is it really the best time to bank on this? Are you really going to find investors that say, I know the economy's tanking, but this controversial topic is going to make me a ton of money?
Yeah. I mean, you even have banks now going against crypto. So, this is not going to help you to have a game system that is built on the basis of the blockchain.
The Amico has a better shot of coming out than this thing. And that's already in flames. So.
Considering that the Amico also have basically their trademark is dead.
Yeah. That's my point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of these things. I mean, the only reason I'm bringing up the Amico is because Marc does like to talk about it here and there, Intellivision apparently applied for this trademark 2018, 2019. Last E3, they even had that big showcase for it, and they showed off the games. They showed off the commercial that showed you how the system was going to work and everything else. And then here we go, 1 year forward, and now they have abandoned the trademark as of last month, June 20th. This Amico still isn't on sale. At one point, they even sold that package of games that you could buy for it. They've tried to get developers to. They've tried to give away, but allow developers to make games off the IP owned by Intellivision, and that still didn't work. I mean, Marc, I felt like you were kind of looking forward to this a little bit.
No, hell no. I knew it was a scam.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was a scam because.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course it is.
So, how did you? What gave you this vibe of it being? I mean, the NFT thing, it just automatically screams scam. They went to the point where they showed this thing off. They showed a lot of games. I mean, it was the only console that was going to have Earthworm Jim on it, a new Earthworm Jim on it.
Well, they never they never actually made that game. They just had that one quick scene. There's no studio involved. Look at the Ouya. That should have been clue number one that this thing was going to fail or even not even going to come out.
Right.
Even the whole idea of it was just laughable on its face. And also, who cares about the Intellivision?
I mean, even 4 months ago, they came out with an Intellivision Amico family trailer. So, they were still trying to,
I think they were trying to fundraise to be able to afford to actually make it. And when they couldn't get investors, I think they just gave up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean,
I really say
yeah.
they're probably about 3 or 4 years too late to have been able to get this type of thing made. If they had started trying to get investors back when the NES Classic, SNES Classic, all that was initially announced and retro gaming was seeing a little bit of a resurgence, I think they would have had better luck. But now, I mean, it's just, I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
And also,
yeah.
Every trailer they've shown pretty much has been awful looking for the games. And it being powered by a 6-year-old cell phone essentially doesn't help.
Yeah,
I'm not
that
kidding.
already.
Like, yeah.
I mean, that in of itself is not a great helper for that. I mean, when you're Nintendo and you can put Mario and you can put Zelda and you can put everything else on your console that has a mobile chip in it that's old when it already came out, you can get by with that, right? When you're the Intellivision trying to come back and make this Amico thing, that feels like another like CDI thing that's like, I guess this could work for somebody, but yeah, man.
I mean, like I said, the Amico makes the Ouya look competent.
Yeah.
Because say what you will, the Ouya came out.
The Ouya came out. It had some gains for it.
And like one or two of those were like not terrible.
People liked, being able to use it as like a emulator. So there's that. So, yeah, we're going to keep down this trend of bringing back old things. Sony, apparently, according to a patent, is apparently trying to bring PS3 products back to market, including the DualShock 3, the media remote, the PlayStation mouse, an iToy. The PlayStation Move ones are still out there because you use them for the PSVR. And then the memory card as well.
What memory card for the PS3?
Yeah, I don't know. But the PS3 peripherals apparently would work like getting emulated through software, not necessarily through hardware of the PS5. And it might go along with the fact that basically the PS3 is everything's streaming, everything's downloadable. You can't download anything, but everything is digital with the PS3 because for the fact that they can't get that to work where you could download the games or so. Do you feel like for me, when Nintendo comes out with the NES controllers, the SNES controllers, or even the 64 controllers, right? Like those have a nostalgia because they're different from the controllers we have now for the Switch, or they are of an era. Like the PS3 controller is basically the PS4 controller. I mean, why would you need to have the DualShock 3 for really anything except for maybe like a small number of games? I don't see the point.
Yeah, it's dumb. They shouldn't do this.
I just wonder if they're doing it so nobody can make third-party versions that work on the PS5.
Or they're going to start selling the console in like Venezuela or something for like...
Yeah, some type of knockoff or something that for the current generation. Just trying to keep everything locked down.
Yeah, it just seems weird. Like, and then you're even going to the point of like the iToy and the media remote. Like, okay,
fine, I can get one of those.
The mouse, like the PlayStation mouse. Okay, like I don't know. I mean, a lot of we've seen Sony have these patents that they don't ever do anything with them. They just patent it, right? So it could just be that they're doing it, like you guys said, to prevent people from actually making these. But it'd just be really weird to see any of this stuff come out. Like, I don't see this being a nostalgia play that's going to really just wow the masses into buying it. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's something.
Yeah.
It is something.
Would it surprise you though, like if this actually, like any of this stuff actually released, and they said, "All right, you can." I don't know how you're going to be able to hook it up to your PS5, but
USB.
Yeah, you can play PS3 games with it.
I could maybe see the media remote being used for streaming services. Maybe having a way that you can go right to have a Netflix button where you can just hit it and go right to it or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, that's the only thing I can really see out of that list possibly coming out.
Yeah, I just don't like if you made such a big deal about how the PS4 games can't, like, it was such a big deal that they can't go forwards compatible. They're only there for the to play PS4 games. Like, these things are going to cost money. That's just would seem like a big waste of money to have them come out. Well, something that I hope people spend their money, but would show that you definitely want more of these, because this is the one game next week or this week upcoming that I'm excited about. The Klonoa remasters are coming out, and of course the Reverie series comes out on the 8th, and based on an interview from the game journal Lock On, which they basically base this on, if it actually gets, the magazine version comes out every time, it's based on how much they can raise all the buy subscriptions and whatever, and it's actually a pretty good magazine. I've read the first one, the first issue, and they have some terrific writers and some great content on there. Hopefully it can keep lasting, but either way, they're definitely targeting obviously folks like me that are nostalgic for Klonoa, but they're hoping also that they can kind of open this up to a new audience for Klonoa, and then obviously if it sells well, they can do more. Perhaps, I don't know if they would go and remaster the GBA spinoffs or whatever, but they could make a new game in the series as well. Do you think that this could do well, decently well, and actually be a boon for the Klonoa games, or you think it's just going to be like a lot of things we've seen this year, where it will just hit the people like me and then go back in obscurity?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
I mean, no offense to yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
Now you can go.
Unless there's like some massive push from people to check it out, I don't see it gaining much of a new audience right now.
Yeah, sadly, I feel the same way. I hope it's some kind of boon for the Klonoa IP. I hope it does decently well enough, whatever as long as they don't have Square Enix level expectations here, I think that they will be all right. But I don't think people should be expecting this to sell ridiculous amounts of copies. The price that they're asking for is pretty decent as well, $20 each game. I think that's pretty good for 2 PS1 remasters, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm excited to be able to play that this week. I'll definitely have thoughts on it when we do the show next week, but man, it would be nice to see a new Klonoa game, but I'm also not going to be super disappointed if they just say, all right, well, we gave it a shot. Yeah.
When was the last one? Like PS2?
I think wouldn't the GBA games have been
GBA.
Okay? No, yeah. No, the Wii. They had a Wii game, and that one did not sell well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it. So we do have, since we're at the end of this first 6 months of the year, I kind of wanted to kind of go around and get everybody's thoughts on what were, I guess your top 5 for this year so far. Like what are the games? I mean, I think we can all for sure say Elden Ring is perhaps in the running right now for Game of the Year. But aside from the obvious Elden Ring, what are the top games for you, Mark?
I said Kirby number 5, Lost Ark at 4, Fire Emblem, Horizon, and then Elden Ring is number 1.
Daniel, you have?
Yeah, I can give you 5 games that I came up with because I did 5 besides Elden Ring,
Right.
because I figured that would be at the top. Pokemon Legends Arceus, I never can pronounce it right. And these are in no order. These are just, I'm actually going to read them off in order of release date. Horizon Forbidden West, Tunic, Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, and I went ahead and threw Shredder's Revenge on it because it is I would definitely say it's probably one of the top 5 to 10 games that have been out so far, and I enjoyed it, so I threw it on there.
Yeah. For me, definitely some of y'all's list is going to be on mine. Pokemon Legends Arceus is still, I think, perhaps my, like, at the halfway point game of the year. Just such a divergence from the Pokemon that we've played for so long that got to give it its props for that. Definitely. I haven't played either Horizon or Elden Ring, so I can't comment on that. I've been playing Triangle Strategy after not playing it for the length of time that I've had it, and I really love that game. But it's there for me. Tunic as well, like you said, Daniel. That's one of my favorite games so far this year. Throwing Neon White in there, that game has really impressed me, and I think it's also going to still be there when I'm looking at games, in the next so far. And I think if I had to name another one, actually I'm going to give some praise to Strangers in Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I really enjoyed that. I've really, really enjoyed that game. You kind of have to be okay with it. Just it's making fun of itself, but the gameplay is actually really enjoyable to me, and it does have that Final Fantasy nostalgia in there as well. So, those are my 5 so far. But I did want to give a shout out to, Trek to Yomi as well. Liked a lot, TMNT, the Shredder's Revenge, like you said, Daniel. Sifu, I still want to check that game out. Hopefully it'll go on sale one of these weeks, and I will definitely get that and play some. I know I'm going to die a lot, but from everything, Randy was like super hyped on that game, and a lot of other people were as well. And Nobody Saves the World, which was like the first like kind of newish game that came out this year, I'm still have fond memories of as well. Any other games y'all want to give shouts to before we?
Mega Man 7.
Also, WWE actually made they actually made a good WWE game this year, so that's a miracle in itself.
I mean, good is a stretch, but passable is okay.
People have really liked it, so I mean, I wouldn't say it's great or anything, but
I think it's just
got good scores.
Yeah, it's called good based on what the last couple entries have been.
Based on the last decade of darkness has been.
Yeah, when you have that low of a bar to hit, I mean, you're not having to do go much further.
That's like the isn't there supposed to be a college football game next year?
Yep.
Yeah.
So as long as it functions and it plays semi well, it's going to get high scores just because it's the first college football game in over a decade.
I wonder what's going to happen with that if they keep doing all this like moving around and they can't decide if the NCAA is going to be in charge of it or not, or like.
Well, you want another really funny thing about that game? I've already been promised a code from one of the guys who's working on it.
Oh, really?
And as we all know, I'm a big NCAA football fan.
Man, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think what's going to end up happening is if the NCAA, nothing's going to change in the next, I'd probably say 3-4 years, because everybody's still under contract for the playoff, still has its
Yeah.
TV deal and everything. So I think we're eventually going to have maybe 2 super conferences or 3 super conferences, and they're going to do their own thing. Probably within the next 10 years would be my guess. And they're just going to phase out the NCAA because the NCAA is a governing board. So if all the conferences can agree on something, why do they need the NCAA at this point?
No, that's definitely true. I mean, they've gotten to the point where they really don't need the NCAA. That thing is just eroding by itself. I can't wait till they just announce that basically some of these conferences are dissolving onto themselves, and you just have basically 2 leagues almost going against each other. It's like the Pac-12 is dissolving right before our eyes, basically. So
I think one of 2 things are going to happen with the Pac-12. Either the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are going to merge and have a bunch of really good, and I'm not putting down any of the teams that are going to be left, but B+ level teams, not top tier, but like Oklahoma State, Washington, Utah, Oregon, maybe not the top traditional powerhouses, but still good teams.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have their one, they'll merge together and have their one conference. Then you'll have the ACC, and then the Big Ten and the SEC. If the Pac-12 and Big 12 dissolve, then the ACC can't survive. And I think you're just going to see 2 giant conferences at that point.
Yeah. I really think we're going to get to that point where we're just going to have two leagues, basically, almost. It will almost have the AFC, NFC equivalent in college football at some point.
Yeah.
Well, that's let me get through this here. If there's any entertainment stuff y'all want to discuss really quick, we can do that. So as far as what's coming out this week, I already talked about the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. Definitely going to be on that one day one. Again, that Match Point Tennis Championships is coming to Game Pass, and then other systems, everything except the Switch. And yeah, I'm not sure if that Time on Fire Island any game is also going to be on Game Pass, but it is coming to everything, and I've heard good things about it. So kind of excited to see what any of attention it gets there. And yeah, everything's kind of tilted towards the end of the month, basically, or towards at least the bottom half. So right now we're kind of just waiting until then. But yeah, you go check out that. Maybe that Arcade Getting game is going to be good on PS Plus as well. I love that art style, though. I keep mentioning it. That it looks like Osmosis Jones. I'm kind of interested in see how that rolls when we can actually unlock it in a few hours and see how that goes. But all right, I mean, I've been I'm 5 episodes in on Mayans, but I mean, I loved Sons of Anarchy, so obviously everybody keeps telling me I need to watch Mayans, so I finally started watching that. I've been enjoying it so far, and I finally got into The Boys. And damn, is that show freaking awesome. I don't know why I waited this long. I'm I don't know. That game, that show is great. Really gives you a different look on I could totally see at some point if this ever happened, I could see America totally trying to sell superheroes. Capitalism, baby. That's how far it goes. Yeah, anything from you guys?
I was annoyed who they killed off in Star Trek.
Yeah, I haven't watched this last episode yet, but I know who was killed off, and it's kind of annoying, but then again, I mean, that's a sign of a good character if you're annoyed that they're killed off and you're sad to see them go. So,
as opposed to Discovery when they kill people off and like, wait, who was that? They had a name.
Yeah. Wait, that person's been there for 3 years, barely mentioned, but now I should care. Okay.
Hey man, she looked cool. What more do you need?
Yeah.
And Orville's still cool.
Yes, I did watch the Orville. Also, I'll go ahead and throw this out there. If anybody has watched American Vandals, the 2 seasons that were on Netflix, the comedy, fake documentary, true crime investigation, check out Players on Paramount. I think it's on Paramount Plus. It's by the people that did American Vandals. It's got that same style. It's a fake documentary. This is dealing with a fake League of Legends pro team and the rise of the team and the fall and bringing new people on and everything. It's really entertaining. I'm really enjoying it so far. Check it out if you get a chance. Pretty funny. I think people will like it. I'll throw something video game related in since we're talking about it.
All right. Anything else there?
Nope.
All right. So that is it for the show this week. Hopefully you like what you heard or watched on YouTube. Until next time, make sure you go subscribe to the Network channel on YouTube. Anytime somebody does a show, you can get that on right there. Ring that bell. You will get everything we do here. Of course, you can get all of Marc Rouse's movie and metal music stuff. He's been doing the wrestling as well. So Money in the Bank just happened. So he has a commentary and review of that as well. Of course, they do the AEW stuff. So they did the Forbidden Door pay-per-view as well. So you can check that out. And of course, whenever we do a show here, Video Games to the Match, you can get that as well. So, or if you prefer just the old school listening, we're available on any podcast service that is out there. You can go follow me at WTM Sean, to follow the whole network at WTM Network, and Marc at Humanity Plague. Until next week, we'll see you later, everybody.
Later.
Later.